The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
Look around and it's not hard to find environmental problems. Local, state, and federal governments are now taking steps to correct some of these. There are also many environmental groups focusing attention on solutions, and there are companies that are becoming more environmentally responsible. But it doesn't stop there. Each and every one of us needs to do our part to help conserve our natural resources and to clean up our air, water, and soil. I'm Ed Begley Jr. Join me this week on Today's Environment as we learn ways you can make positive environmental choices.
Today, City Council
gas,
effectively
reducing
9,000
reducing air
supermarkets
pollutants by
recycling a milestone.
80%. Educational programs.
Recycling of materials like paper, glass, and aluminum not only conserves raw materials, but it also saves energy. To make this effort a true success, we must change our buying habits. That means purchasing more products made from recycled materials. Now let's look at a creative solution to another pressing environmental problem.
Would you believe there are enough used tires stockpiled in the United States to circle the entire Earth more than 70 times? Not only are they eyesores, but they're also a threat to the environment and public safety. Our scrap tire problems are not solved yet, but there are many new methods of recycling a portion of them. It's estimated that in 1992, 57 million tires were used to fuel cement kilns, coal-fired boilers, steam plants, and pulp and paper mills. Scrap tires are also split to make everything from floor mats to dock bumpers, and ground to make athletic tracks and garbage cans. But unfortunately, over 70% of America's tires still end up in piles. One solution is paving the way for the tire recycling industry. It's called rubber-modified asphalt. Michelin Tire, Clemson University, and the South Carolina Highway Department conducted a study to see if the new mixture would be suitable for roadways. Tires were taken from illegal dumps in South Carolina and ground into 1/4-inch chips. Some of the chips were processed even further to make small crumbs. The smaller pieces were run through a screen to size them. A magnet removed all the metals, and it was screened again, bagged, and packaged. Samples were tested in the lab. The larger chunks were mixed with a smaller portion of the finely blended rubber and added to the aggregate. The mixture was then heated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The rubber was softened and mixed with the aggregate to form pavement. The project is ongoing, and rubber-modified asphalt is being used in different studies across the country. So far, 17,000 tires collected from illegal dumps in South Carolina have turned into 100 tons of rubber additive and 3,200 tons of asphalt. The benefits of using rubber in paving mixtures present some attractive alternatives for contractors and taxpayers. First, it conserves aggregate. Less pavement in general is needed since a thinner layer can be applied because of the rubber's durability. The pavement also gives a quieter ride, de-ices more quickly than conventional pavement, and since salt runoff is eliminated, it also reduces the effects on surface and groundwater. Accidents could be avoided due to a 25% reduction in braking distance. The 1991 Federal Highway Act will require states to use rubberized asphalt pavement for at least 5% of their asphalt paving needs by 1994. While finding environmentally acceptable uses for our used tires is of major importance, the main goal is to design tires that last longer. By recently releasing a new tire capable of lasting for 80,000 miles, Michelin is increasing the life of tires by as much as 33%. In the meantime, we all can decrease tire consumption by taking care of the tires we have. by making sure they are properly inflated, aligned, and balanced. This gives them a much longer lifespan, and in the long run will help our world live longer too.
Next time you go shopping for something, pay special attention to the labels on the packages. If you have a choice between something made from virgin materials or a comparable product with recycled content, choose a recycled product. It's environmentally smart. Recently, Today's Environment visited a place where people are working to make our world a better place to live. Let's see what they found.
America's scenery has changed significantly over the past 100 years. Tall buildings now pierce our smoggy skies. Winding roads are stitched together with power lines and telephone wires. And giant storage tank farms emerge from rolling hillsides. You may think that reserves of clean, pure oil are stored here, but what really lies inside might surprise you. Inside many of these tanks are layers upon layers of thick sludge, sometimes reaching heights of 20 feet. The sludge settles after years of oil storage and must be periodically removed to avoid clogging and keep fresh supplies from being contaminated. Normally, a work crew of 20 or more laborers is needed to physically dig out all the muck and arrange for the disposal of the removed waste. This is a dirty and dangerous job, exposing workers to hazardous materials and sometimes even explosive atmospheres. Some of these projects last as long as 6 months. During this time, workmen must wear face masks and isolation suits to protect themselves from these dangers. But now, all the dirty work is being left to a crew of mechanical robots who accomplish the cleanup in less than half the time. There is no need for companies to incur the expense of cutting huge holes in the sides of tanks in order to squeeze in large machinery needed for normal waste removal operations. Master Blaster, Obi-Wan, Ann Droid, and an army of automatons fit through normal tank entry portals. The robots perform in-tank cleaning and reclaim up to 95% of the original oil from each sludge cleanup. They were created by the engineers at the Landry Service Company, better known as Lansco, based in Houston, Texas. The remote control robots can operate inside the tanks under adverse conditions, diluting the sludge with a light oil. Once it's broken down, the liquid is pushed toward suction hoses that pump it into separation equipment. Here, the oil is separated from the solids and reclaimed through a patented process. All of the remaining sludge is condensed into a dry, stable, non-hazardous solid. This process reduces the amount of waste being disposed of by up to 90%. The robots work steadily until the job is complete, helping eliminate almost all in-tank man-hours needed during the process. Many companies can now afford to clean up their tanks because, in a lot of cases, the recovered oil pays for the process. This will also protect them in the future. More stringent environmental laws now hold businesses responsible for the waste they produce and any problems stemming from that waste indefinitely. With the amount of oil sludge reduced by up to 95%, and by converting that waste into a harmless byproduct, companies can have peace of mind about their disposal practices and their influence on the world which our future generations will call home.
Americans use and dispose of over 2 billion batteries a year, and most of them wind up in landfills. Now, this is dangerous because they contain mercury, a very toxic substance, which poses a serious environmental problem. One simple solution is to use rechargeable batteries. They save you money in the long run, and they help the environment. Next, we'll see how another environmental problem is being addressed.
Chlorofluorocarbons, otherwise known as CFCs, are chlorine-based chemicals that act as refrigerants, propellants, and solvents. In 1976, the National Academy of Sciences first reported that CFCs were contributing to the destruction of the Earth's protective ozone layer. This announcement led to the signing of the Montreal Protocol in 1987. Nations joined together, pledging to cut by 1/2 their production and use of CFCs by 1999. The agreement was later amended to completely phase them out by that time. One commonly used chlorine-based compound is Freon. For decades, industries have relied on Freon because of its all-around versatility and the lack of drawbacks for the user. It's non-toxic, colorless, and non-flammable. The Dresser Rand Company in Olean, New York, is a leading supplier of gas turbocompressors in various oil and gas processes and petrochemical industry applications. For the past 20 years, they have used Freon as one of their inert gases to performance test compressors before leaving their facilities. Here at the facility, engineers use a number of different gases to test the equipment: nitrogen, carbon dioxide, Freon, or a helium-nitrogen mixture. In most cases, the compressors are very large and need a lot of gas to fill them during testing. It's for that reason that substitute gases are used. Large volumes of the gas that will actually be used by the customer in the field are inaccessible. In order to test the compressors for performance, an inert gas is selected. In some instances, the use of Freon is required in order to meet applicable engineering codes and customer requirements. However, this selection is only done after close evaluation of all test conditions to confirm that only the use of Freon will satisfy these requirements. When allowable, environmentally safe gases are used during testing. Today, they have significantly cut down on the amount of Freon used during testing. What Freon is used is recovered by a Freon reclaiming system. This special reclamation system was devised to filter out the contaminants and recover the Freon for reuse in future tests. The closed-loop system feeds the compressor with the gas. The compressor is tested to ensure that it runs efficiently and that the right amount of energy is needed to power it. Following testing, the Freon is reclaimed and stored in the reclaiming system storage tank until the next test. Since installing the reclaimer, the requirement to purchase new Freon has significantly decreased. The company has formed its own chemical review board to reduce the use of hazardous gases and solvents at the plant. Their goal is to eventually phase out all use of hazardous chemicals at the facility. The board is searching for ways to replace the ones currently in use with non-hazardous compounds to assure that any new products brought in are also environmentally safe. They're planning to keep their reclaiming system to use for the Freon substitute as well, as an added precaution in the event that scientific developments may reveal future environmental hazards with any of the alternative gases. This is a step to be taken in all industries as we rectify today's problems by safeguarding tomorrow's planet.
Helium-filled balloons released into the air have come to represent happy and festive occasions. In one promotional effort, more than 1.2 million balloons were let go at one time. However, when they eventually break and come back to Earth, they become lethal to birds and many sea creatures who think they look like squid, their favorite meal. Let's now turn our attention to another environmental problem and solution.
The winter is here, and many of us are fighting to stay warm. With the nation's slumping economy, many people simply can't afford to heat their homes this year. Some needy families in Pennsylvania are surviving the season with the help of their neighbors. A new program provides them with free fuel to heat their homes while also solving a serious disposal problem. Many families have made the switch to natural gas to conserve energy and save on their monthly energy bills. Once an old oil system is replaced by a natural gas heating system, the remaining oil tanks may still contain 50 or more gallons of unused oil. Getting rid of unused oil can be a time-consuming and expensive undertaking. As a result, thousands of gallons remained in the old oil tanks of new gas customers, so the local utility stepped in to help out. UGI, a gas utility headquartered in Reading, Pennsylvania, initiated the oil swap program in 1991. Those who participated were offered the opportunity to donate their unused heating oil to less fortunate families living in their area. Local community action agencies found qualifying low-income households that needed fuel. UGI arranged and paid for the pumping and delivery of the oil. A delivery truck visits as many as 10 homes a day to give financially strapped families free oil for their heating systems. Since January of 1991, more than 5,500 customers in the area converted to gas, and more than 50,000 gallons of oil were donated through the program. 270 households and a number of charitable organizations received enough oil to heat their homes and buildings for an entire month, free. The benefits of the oil swap program go far beyond the obvious. By recycling 50,000 gallons of oil to homes in need, it made the customer's conversion to gas much easier. Those wanting to convert to gas but not wanting to pay a large sum of money to have the unused portion of oil pumped and disposed of now have more incentive to save energy because the utility finances the whole operation. Plus, the donation may qualify as a tax-deductible contribution. The upgrades will conserve approximately 30% of the energy used by each household and save 25,000 gallons of oil annually. Of all fossil fuels, natural gas is the cleanest burning energy producer. Many utilities in the United States have begun offering financial incentives to consumers to become more environmentally aware. Aside from programs like Oil Swap, it's up to all of us to do our part to conserve energy and save our Earth's precious resources. And we must continue working together to make our world a warmer place.
This little faucet aerator attached to your kitchen or bathroom sink can reduce the flow by 50% to save a lot of water. Incredibly, though the flow is reduced, it still seems strong because air is mixed with the water. You don't even realize that you're using less water. Here's a solution to another environmental concern.
Sundown Island in Matagorda Bay, Texas has long served as a home for shrub and ground nesting water birds from March through August. Herons, egrets, brown pelicans, and terns lay their eggs and raise their young here on the islands, but now their numbers are being threatened. Not by humans, but by a deadly infestation of fire ants. There are an average of 180 red fire ant mounds per acre of land on these islands. Researchers believe they first came to Mobile, Alabama in the 1930s, aboard a ship from South America. By the 1940s, the fire ants had spread into Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. By the 1980s, their numbers had grown immensely to blanket the southeastern portion of the United States. The red fire ant continues to spread, primarily in Texas, at a rate of 20 to 30 miles per year. They now inhabit an estimated 250 million acres in 11 southern states. The ants feed on almost any type of plant or animal material: caterpillars, beneficial insects, ground nesting rodents, and hatching birds. Brown pelicans found on this Texas island are on the endangered list. In an effort to save the species, wildlife experts have carefully surveyed the area, studied the ant populations, and tracked the progress of bird eggs and hatchlings. Of the 20 nests marked by researchers, all of them sustained ant damage. 100% of the eggs and hatchlings were destroyed. The rapid increase of fire ants is due in part to their organization and strength in numbers. The only enemy they are forced to contend with territorially is the little black native ant, but in nearly all cases, the fire ants ultimately win. One way the researchers are combating the island's ant problem is with an insect growth regulator made by Ciba Plant Protection called Logic. They developed Logic, also sold under the name Award, after intensive studies on how to control fire ant mounds in given areas. Scientists found the active ingredient phenoxycarb effective in controlling fire ants, but harmless to beneficial insects. Phenoxycarb bait is collected by worker ants, which maintain the colony and supply reproductive ants with food. The workers carry the bait into the mound and feed it to the queen and developing worker larvae. The queen stops producing eggs that become worker ants, and developing queens become infertile. While the queen and non-working winged ants continue to develop, the colonies are slowly eliminated due to the lack of workers to supply food and maintain the colony.
We have used Logic where an island or several islands, usually small islands, are completely taken over by fire ants. And at that point it's clear that the native ant is not going to be of any help, and it's probably not present when the ants attain those densities. So that's when we'll go in and treat the island with Logic.
Since the new insect growth regulator was introduced, ant populations on the island have decreased by 90%, and the number of hatchlings has returned to normal levels. 263 brown pelicans successfully nested, all producing 2 to 3 hatchlings apiece. This makes up 1/3 of the Texas population of brown pelicans.
1/2 of the phosphates in our lakes and streams comes from detergents, causing a lot of pollution. But the sad thing is that they're really not necessary. Many cleaning products that have little or no phosphates in them do just as good a job. So next time you shop for soap, read the label. In this next feature, we'll see how one company is dealing with another environmental matter.
All the advertising, all the convenient disposal bins, and a good deal of our environmental laws are there for one purpose, and that's to get everyone, individuals and major corporations alike, to reduce, reuse, and recycle waste. Today we generate over 70 million tons of paper waste. Much of that discarded paper can be attributed to a lack of concern by the general public. But a portion of it is also due to a lack of knowledge by environmentally conscious consumers. While many of us look for recycled paper, the terms defining recycled can differ. The Environmental Protection Agency considers paper recycled if it is made up of at least 50% recycled fiber. Most of us think a logo on the outside of the package means that the paper inside came from discarded paper used by the public. Not so. Scrap paper generated during the final processing stages is called post-industrial waste. For years, the paper industry has been recycling by using its own internal post-industrial waste to generate more paper products. Although it has never been used by a consumer, it goes directly into new paper products to be labeled recycled. Post-consumer waste, on the other hand, is paper that has passed through its natural life cycle as a consumer item. Recycled paper made from post-consumer waste is generally used in uncoated printing paper. Now it is used to produce high-gloss, high-quality grades of printing paper as well. Until recently, high grades of coated paper were made with only virgin products or post-industrial waste products. It was commonly thought throughout the industry that post-consumer waste fiber simply wasn't good enough to manufacture coated paper. But today, the S.D. Warren Company, a subsidiary of Scott Paper, is making quality paper from post-consumer waste with their Lustro-Gloss recycled paper. Paper manufactured from post-consumer waste uses fiber from waste papers that are strictly targeted for disposal. Recycled paper was known for lacking in brightness, clarity, and high gloss. But S.D. Warren's paper-making technology is being well regarded by companies who stake their reputation on quality. Their developments have led to the first high-quality coated papers to incorporate 10% post-consumer waste without sacrificing appearance or strength. Steps like these are sure to become more common as companies take bolder advances to build upon their technologies, implement them, and allow consumers time to familiarize themselves with their ongoing commitment to the improvement of our environment.
Most environmental tips are nothing but common sense. We know that cars cause air pollution and they are burning up our valuable reserves of non-renewable fossil fuels. The solution to this problem is simple: drive less. That could mean carpooling to work, making fewer trips to the store, or combining routine trips like taking the kids to scout meetings with shopping. I'm Ed Begley Jr. Next week on Today's Environment, we'll see how some technologies are making this a better world. Please join me.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5-Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.